Has the world ever been safe? Because when I look back, the only time I can think of in recent memory is when we had COVID for maybe a year or two, where everything was shut and people couldn't move and wars were not fought and there wasn't any social distancing. But as soon as COVID ended, the world went back and then Trump won. And I'm not even going to go into how Trump won, but Trump won. Here we are. And a lot of the things he said he wasn't going to do, he did them. And some of the things he said he was going to do, he also did them. And see where we are right now. We have the Venezuelan crisis. We had what happened in Nigeria, the bombings that happened on the 25th of December. We had what happened on, I think, the 2nd of January 2026 with Maduro taken out of office. We have this stuff happening right now with NATO and Greenland and Trump and tariffs coming in if the NATO troops do not leave Greenland because Trump wants Greenland, offered to buy Greenland. And we have Russia there lurking, fighting a war against Ukraine. Only God knows how long that war is going to last for. And of course, Russia they have their own thing to say about this. They were not happy the fact that Ukraine went to join NATO. Their backyard, in their backyard. If you recall back in history, had the USSR that had all the states, and all the states had to broke away, I think 35, 40 years ago. So essentially, Ukraine and Russia are the same people. But because of what happened with the break of USSR, they are now split into two. And Ukraine joined NATO, meaning they could literally be a base there to spy on Russia, and it was too geographically close for Russia, and that is Russia's take for going into Ukraine. Of course, NATO sees it differently. You can't go into a sovereign country and declare war and do all these things. But then what happened in Venezuela? What is about to happen in Greenland? The Sahel have their own, with Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali distancing themselves from what they had with their colonial masters, which was France. And the question I have is very, very simple in this video in 2026. When are we going to have peace? When are we going to have global peace? It seems like almost every sphere of the atmosphere and every sphere of the continents, with S at the end of continent, there is some skirmish, there is some war, there's something that is not peaceful going on. When are we going to get there? What is the United Nations doing? Should United Nations even still be there? That's a question I have. Because it seems to me it's just like the big countries preying on the small countries, the stronger countries taking over the weaker countries. We say we have sanctions because we want to elicit some kind of response. But we know that those countries that are being sanctioned, number one, some of the sanctions are not in good faith. Number two, these countries that are being sanctioned are still doing business with other countries, sometimes even the same countries that are sanctioning them, especially if they have natural resources, albeit through back channels. When are we going to have peace? When international laws are passed and international laws are not kept, what is going to happen is chaos. You take one president from one country and you take him to another country and you say you want to try him there. When your country does not have jurisdiction to try him, you have the international courts, the International Criminal Court, you have the International Court of Justice in The Hague. All this Article 2, Article 4, Article 6, Article 8, nobody's following them. Because you have richer countries, you have more powerful countries ensuring that their interests are protected. And the poorer countries, the countries that don't have the might, where do they go to for succor? Where do they go to for peace? Where do they go to for litigation and mitigation without being subjugated? And subjugation is going on as well. You see, it's, I remember when I was young, I always used to think, oh, there are some countries, you just looked at them in high esteem, America being one of them, the UK being one of them, France maybe being one of them. But that was me looking at it as a young boy, fascinated by some of the advancements in these countries. But as an older man now, I see the international geopolitical space and I see a lot of, for the lack of a better word, a lot of hypocrisy. You're saying one thing, you're doing something else. You interfere in nations' elections. You interfere indirectly. And you turn around and say, they're not doing it the way you want it to be done as an international election observer. And my question is, even these countries that are even doing some of these elections, which has been imposed onto them, democracy being one, is that even the right governance for them to do? Is that the right thing they're supposed to be doing? Or should they be doing something else? Maybe military, maybe coming together to have some kind of referendum and choosing what kind of governance that they want. And don't even get me started with trade or aid. Trading, fair trading is what a lot of countries with natural resources have, which is why people say natural resources can be a curse. Because if you don't have fair trading, you're eventually going to go back to the people who are buying your natural resources from you to ask for aid. And we know that these aids come with handcuffs. You must do democracy. You must buy from us. You must pay in, you must borrow from certain banks. The interest rates are not going to be favorable. There's going to be compounded interest. You keep on paying and paying and paying, and you never ever get away from the debts. As one government is paying one debt, another government is coming in and taking. And I'm not only going to say that it's about debts as well. There's corruption. There's absolutely corruption in some countries, which even makes it worse. But when you force a style of government and they accept that style of government on them, and that's not the best government for them, it's like putting square pegs in round holes. You're not going to get the best result out of it. When are we going to get peace? When? You see, every time in history, we've had a period of dominance. We've had the Greek dominance. We've had the British Empire, which lasted over 400 years. America has been doing this for the last 40 years. We have seen the rise of China. And I think personally, I think China is going to be the next big thing out there, the next superpower. But is that what we should be talking about? Should we be talking about one superpower living for another superpower? Or should we be talking about collectively smaller countries coming up and living in peace? Because that's the whole idea of this video. When are we going to have peace? As long as we keep on having bigger countries subjugate on smaller countries, we're not going to have peace. I don't know if you guys are seeing and I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Because, you know, there's this thing that if you stay in a part of the world, you're safe. If you stay in another part of the world, you're not safe. Largely that is true. But pockets of violence happens everywhere in the world. Crime rates may differ from place to place, but all it takes is one unfortunate incident or being at the wrong place in the wrong time, and you can literally be at a bad place, even though you're in a great location. So we can't just fold our arms and say, oh, because we're living in a place that appears to be safe or is safe according to the metrics, that we should not do our bit to ensure that we have a peaceful world. And it boils down to money. From the transatlantic slave trade to colonization to what we have now, digitization, even the AI revolution that we have now, it's all about money. It's either you're making more money or you're saving money. It's still about money. Now, why have I brought up money? I brought up money because I don't believe that the people who are making this money believe that peace is profitable. War is where the money is, because they put a lot of money into military budgets to make sure that they defend the nations. But they are the ones that are starting the chaos in the first place. So you start the chaos, and then you create the weapons, and then you go into the countries, internally or externally, and then you solve that peace. And then the cycle continues, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that is one of the reasons why I think peace is going to be very difficult to achieve, because war is profitable. War is profitable. And we've gone too far. Yes, certain countries don't allow civilians to have weapons. But the military bear weapons, they bear arms. And we've reached a stage in the world that we can't go back on that, because people have to have the right to self-defense. And some people use this right and attack first. So it's become very profitable. The weapons industry is profitable. Diplomatic tensions is profitable. Even when you put sanctions, it's indirectly profitable. You have to raise taxes. Anytime there's a war, you raise taxes because you've spent money that you're supposed to be using for public infrastructure. You've spent some of that money on fighting wars. You have to go back and tax the people to be able to get that money back over maybe next 10, 15, 20 years. We saw what happened with the Iraq situation, where NATO had to spend so much money to get Saddam Hussein out. And Iraq is more of a mess now than it was when Saddam Hussein was in power. Again, back to my question, when are we going to have peace? When? When? I'll leave you with this question as I wrap up this video. If you have any suggestions of what you think can promote world peace, please, I'd like to hear from you. Put it in the comment section. Let's have a debate. Let's have a community of minds, like minds and unlike minds. It doesn't matter. Just keep it respectful. And I'll see you in the next one.